In glass-walled courts where echoes rise, a dance unfolds 'neath glaring skies. The rubber ball, a pulse, a beat, where fire and footwork fierce compete. The crowd leans in, the rallies burn, a point is war at every turn. From solo drills in silent halls to roaring winds in mirrored walls. You've bled in sweat, you've fought through pain. When nothing's left, you rise again. Not just in strength, but heart and grace, a master of the tightest space. And now you stand, the final blow. The champion crown, the world aglow. But deeper still, the glory's found in love of game on sacred ground. So hold that trophy, feel the flame, a legend carved into the game. For squash is more than court and score, it's soul, it's grit, and something more.
Well, a wonderful rendition of a poem written by Sir Thomas Dwyer, my father, a voice that transcends the game and a persona that certainly transcends the game to this day. We have an amazing history in the sport. The British Open was the one to win. It's still one of the most historic, or the most historic titles to win, but it's the World Championships brought in 1976 that is the ultimate event for any man or woman to win. It's now the 48th edition here in Chicago, and this World Championship title translates throughout all sports universally as the pinnacle of every man and woman's dream to win.
Oh, Diego Elias has won the World Championships here in Cairo!
With a cross-court drop. There it is.
And that's it. A major upset here in the 1981 McGuinness World Open.
Yes, there it is. At the age of 18, his first appearance in a World Championship final. Jamshid Khan of Pakistan takes over where Jahangir Khan left off.
That is the match point, and Susan Devore, the 28-year-old world champion from Auckland, New Zealand, retains her world championships.
There's the volley post, and that's the winning shot. Vanessa Atkinson, arms aloft, racket in the air. Ramia Shaw serving the World Open Championship. And there it is, he buries that loose ball in the front right mitt. He hugs his Egyptian team.
Eighth world title.
Get it. Well done.
And there she's got it.
Word.
Unbelievable. Come back from that.
Shabini's won her 7th. Well, joining me here in the studio, former world champion Vanessa Atkinson and Aussie international Johnny Williams. Johnny, great to be back in Chicago. Quite a first for you after 24 years from when you competed in the Windy City Open just down the road.
Yeah, unbelievable, Joey. I walked out the hotel and didn't even realise the University Club is 50 metres down the road, you know. But yeah, 2001, lost out to Linko in the final, but it was great to catch up with John Flanagan and take that walk down memory lane.
And Vanessa, I mean, obviously familiar territory, winning a World Championship for you, but this really is the event that everyone's got their eye on in both the men's and the women's.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge thing. I don't think I quite realised the magnitude of winning a world title at the time, which is probably a good thing. You know, and there's a huge sort of psychological component involved in crossing that line at such a big event. You know, it's the pinnacle, it's the absolute pinnacle. Once you've won that tournament, that's your sort of status solidified, which is probably why I only won the one.
Well, I mean, that's not a bad resume to have, and like you say, the pressure is on. There's the usual suspects in both the men's and the women's, but it's certainly stacked, and it's translatable in any other sport. You know, it's the universal title. Being a world champion is what it's all about.
It's huge, and as you said, it's something that anybody can understand, even people who aren't involved in squash. Obviously, we know the status of the British Open and the history involved, but that doesn't translate to people that aren't sort of in that inner circle, whereas world champion, similar to world number one, everyone understands what an achievement that is.
And the history, Johnny, I mean, Jeff Hunt was the first winner when it came in '76. All the players previously to that, with Joey Barrington, a great Hashim Khan and Abu Taleb and all those, it was the British Open, the Wimbledon of squash, because that was the main title. So the first one being won by Aussie legend Jeff Hunt, that's got to mean something to you, being a Tasmanian.
Yes, exactly. Coming from Tasmania, my cousin Jeff, also from just up the road in Victoria. But no, it was incredible. Obviously, Jeff Hunt stopped by Jahangir in '81, as we saw there. That was his first one. For me, it's interesting just watching all those videos. I just remember watching them as a kid. So, but the thing that jumps out are the emotions of the players. When you look at the way, you can see what it means to them. They've just worked their whole life to get to that one moment, as you know, Vanessa. So incredible, and different styles of the way they celebrate as well.
Well, definitely. I mean, Gregory Gaultier, and you look at some of the greats of the modern game. So Gaultier and Mohamed El Shorbagy, only one. I say only one, but they're always on to win world championships and favourites for so many. Only one between them, and Gaultier obviously always wears his heart on his sleeve, and that's got to be probably the ultimate celebration for me, that one.
Yeah, I mean, he'd obviously been in so many finals as well previous to that, and lost out in World Championship finals 3 or 4, I think, before he finally won it. So it's understandable that he was in tears.
Yeah, no, completely. And with the women's, it's a slightly different story, which we'll allude to later on throughout the show, in terms of the domination of 2 players in particular. But then the history of the women's game, again, a lot of Aussies. Heather Mackay, who didn't get an opportunity to win as many World Championships, with it coming in that bit later, and one of the icons of the women's game, Johnny.
Yeah, interesting is when you look back through that history, the women was only played every 2 years. Throughout 79 was the first one through till the end of the 80s. Susan Devoya also only had 3. She realistically probably could have had 6 or 7 if it was played on a yearly basis, as it was with the men. So, but then you had the great Aussies, Michelle Martin, Sarah Fitzgerald. It's just great names all the way through the list.
The list goes on. Well, in the men's competition here and now, we've got 5 world champions that are competing. So Kareem Abdul-Gawad coming out of nowhere. A bit of a dark horse, some might say, there in 2016, taking that title. Mohamed El Shorbagy, the all-brother affair, that was in Manchester. That was a great final in 5. Momin took his opportunity in 2019 with Ali Farag not playing that event. He had to convert, and he certainly did there in Qatar. Ali Farag dominating back and forth with Egypt and Chicago. There is hunting grounds. But you've got to say, Diego Elias, Johnny, for that one there. That's got to be worth 2, isn't it? Into the lines then in Cairo, taking out Asal in the final, and obviously, of course, Ali Farag in the semis. That was beyond impressive.
Yeah, if there'd be such a thing as a bonus, then he would have got it, that's for sure, because it was 40 degrees. He had to beat Farag, and then obviously backed up the next day to beat Asal. Asal, of course, was on court till about 1 a.m. against Paul Cole. So it was, but yeah, it was about seizing that moment. He was in great form leading up to that. And just took the title.
What does that say about the men's game compared to the women's, which again we'll talk about later? The fact that you've got that spread of players. Yes, Farag is the dominating factor with the World Championships, but what does it say about the men that you've got 5 in there that have won this title previously, competing this week?
I mean, I think we saw in one of the shows we did earlier that the age that players win those big titles and are still sort of maintaining their level well into their 30s is slightly different to the women's game. Interesting to see that 4 of those 5 only won the one, even though we're looking at probably, you know, all legends of the game, and pretty much all Egyptian except for Diego Elias. Obviously, Mohamed El Shorbagy now English, but at the time he won that world title, he was playing for Egypt.
That's a good point, Vanessa, because I was just thinking Zacharia's down here practicing behind us, and we haven't had men, you know, young men that have come through in the last sort of 7 or 8 years. And I don't know whether it's related to, you know, those few years where COVID sort of slowed progress down, perhaps. But yeah, I really feel that there's been a lacking of young guys coming through. And it will be interesting to see whether or not Zakaria can do something tonight.
Well, one of the younger players that's at the top of the game, Mustafa Asal, will be debating the on and off court publicity that he's been having at 4 p.m. local time. So please put that in the diary. 4 p.m. local time. We'll be talking about Mustafa Asal, the Raging Bull here in Chicago, the home of the Chicago Bulls. Can he win a major title here? He's looking pretty good for him, isn't it, Vanessa?
Yeah, I mean, he absolutely can, and he's the favourite. He's done everything else. He's won a British Open now. He's made it to world #1. So he's ticked all those boxes. Obviously, World Championship is huge. And, you know, the fact that he hasn't won one.
Is he not equal favourite with Farag, would you say, given Farag's success here?
Yeah, well, I'd say he's favourite because he is the top seed. Actually, he's not the top seed here, but he is the world #1 now. But it's marginal. I would say it's very close to 50-50.
Yeah.
Well, he's a real box office ticket. The skill set is there in abundance, along with that amazing physical presence and power, and it is going to be hard to stop him. And the draw has opened up with the fact that you've got Joel Makin, who sadly had to pull out due to an ankle injury sustained in the European teams, and he was up there and he was in the quarter there with Diego Elias and then the half of Ali Farag, and he was definitely, for me, somebody that was looking dangerous.
I have it on good word, Joey, that he's pretty gutted, to say the least. He's been in the form of his life the whole season, having wins against Cole. He beat Diego at the British Open last year, so yeah, I mean, he was he'd sort of sized that channel, that pathway up to get through, have another crack at Farag, but unfortunately he's out. So that's one of those outsiders. You talk about dark horses that perhaps has been eliminated.
Yeah, well, Mustafa Asal is, it'd be interesting if he gets challenged early on. I feel that that's a big factor in his events. The events he's won more recently, he hasn't had any challenging matches coming into the later stages, and we know that the World Championships can certainly throw up a few humdingers in the early rounds as well for anyone.
Yeah, I think he's got Goward in there somewhere, who he seems to have met quite a lot in sort of quarterfinals, who should really be a banana skin for him, but he seems to sort of get past that quite easily. So yeah, I can't really see anyone getting in his way before semi-finals.
Well, we're talking about possible contenders here, Johnny. Dark horse, who's your picks outside of anyone that's not won a major event more recently? One man, one woman.
I'm going out on a major limb here, Joey. I'm going to go beyond the top three in each men's and women's categories and go for the number 4s.
Oh, Johnny.
Olivia Weaver in the women's,
right?
But she hasn't won a major event. Paul Cole has not won one for a long time, but I feel that Paul Cole is a guy that's just been knocking on the door, and he's still there. He's still got as good a chance as anybody.
So you obviously kept it very, because when we were preempted with this, it was meant to be someone really quite extravagant. You've obviously gone for people that are still
Marwan
in the mix.
El-Shabagi. There it is.
Right,
Marwan El-Shabagi. He's right there. He's right there as well.
He's a previous finalist of the World Championships in 2017. Now, you've had enough now. I'm going to speak to Vanessa.
Well, I picked Marwan El-Shabagi.
Oh, right, you're jumping on the bandwagon.
No, he was my pick.
Right, okay.
I feel that it was, I mean, according to the rules, we could have gone for Paul Cole, which Johnny and I decided to, but I feel like the draw is possibly slightly favours Marwan El-Shabagi. He's been in a final before, obviously lost out to his brother. Another thing I feel really warrants mentioning is the fact that he's sort of emerging from the shadow of his older brother. He's got ahead of him in the rankings for the first time ever, which is huge. You know, I think they spin it quite well, but it's got to be a massive thing that's got it. You know, been difficult for him his whole career to be so good, but to always be in the shadow of sort of an exceptional sibling. So that could play into it. He's been playing well. He's been looking solid. He's been looking very good in his tournaments.
Because that's the men's. He can't win the women's as well. So who's the women's?
I went for Weaver as well.
Oh, you did. Okay. You obviously were in cahoots again on one of your private
we both walked the plank together there, Joey.
Yeah,
massively.
Absolutely. You really did walk the plank and then run back onto the ship. But another player that can't be written off is, of course, the Warrior Princess, who at times comes out of nowhere to win these World Championships. Well, joining us here, we've got the Irish firecracker, Aisling Blake. Aisling, wonderful to be back in Chicago. We've seen so many World Championships here, and just looking at that with Nour El Shibini, can she get to the magical 8 with your old roommate, Nicole David?
Well, lovely to see you too, Joey. Thanks for the introduction. Can she get to 8? Age-old question. I mean, she's won 7 of 10 of the 10 finals she's been in. If we are going to allude to Nicole David, of course, won 8 of 8. Nour El Shibini is a lot younger than Nicole David was when she retired at 35. And I think if you look at the span of what these two women, literally from 2005 to now, 20 years, these two women have basically dominated 10 and 10 years at a time.
Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable. Between them there, the 15 titles, the one that's kind of been the party pooper has been Norongo Ha winning that title last year, but the dominance there is just beyond it for these. And you don't see that in the men. Nicole David converting 8 out of 8, as Aisling said. I mean, that's pretty special to be able to do that. And then Shibini licking her wounds in a couple of those World Championship losses, but the competition is fierce here for Norongo Ha. There's a lot of players that are playing the best squash of their life, and they're chomping at the bit for her.
I mean, I think the competition in general in the women's game has just been getting better and better, which makes obviously the Shibini statistic even more impressive. Not to take anything away from Nicole David, but she was so dominant during that period. She was winning absolutely everything, including World Championships, whereas Shibini has had to battle her way through tournaments, has somehow managed to save her very best squash for World Championship finals.
Well, I mean, they literally, the percentage win rates there, you've got a 2% difference between these. Nicole David approaching 700 matches, with Shibini coming onto the tour at the grand old age of 14 years of age, playing 532. A lot of those matches have been missed due to a lot of injuries. She's had a significant amount of time out in her career with injuries. But, I mean, honestly, Aisling, the stats speak for themselves between these two. The
they
two
do.
greats.
What I love about it is their styles so different, attacking and mental tenacity rather for Nour El Shibini, and then physical consistency, endurance for Nicole David. But they both won 5 in a row. Like to do that in this era is absolutely phenomenal. So I just think it's a testament to both players and how they dominated both of the eras that they were in.
And I mean, if Shibini was to win the 8th and equalise, would you say that she's the greatest woman player ever to play? We can't forget the great record of Heather Mackay from Australia, who was unbeaten for a ridiculous amount of time, winning all those British Opens and some World Championships as well.
Yeah, I think it's difficult to kind of rank players like that because they've played in such different eras. I mean, even Nour Shibini and Nicole David, even though they played each other quite a few times, the game changed so much. You know, when Nicole was playing, it favoured her style of play. It was on a higher tin, different scoring for a while as well, and she was absolutely brilliant at that game, that more attritional game. Nour El Shibini and the Egyptian players, they sort of revolutionised the game. And to Nicole's credit, she actually sort of adapted her game and was able to sort of stay at the top of the game for a while, even though she wasn't winning the big titles anymore.
Yeah, it was interesting the way her career kind of literally stopped. If we looked at the timeline there, it was 2014, and then Shibini comes on the scene right away after that. And she, you know, Nicole David did eke out a season or two, but really, I would say by that point she had passed the prime and then handed over the torch to El Shibini.
Yeah, the low tin was huge. It didn't favour her style at all, and for her to have to adapt to that at the age she was already at was incredibly difficult. And she tried and she did pretty well, but yeah, it was very difficult.
We talk
for
about
her.
the tin. I mean, just to explain to some of the viewers, the 2 inches that was brought it down to 17 from 19, which was in Universal with the men's game that was in for a long period of time. What difference does that make? Just explain that through.
Well, it was just against Nicole with the higher tin. It was just very, very difficult to find a winner, and I tried. Yeah. But everything came back. She was so quick, very light, small, quick, and she could do that for long periods of time. So I felt like I often had her working harder than me, but I just couldn't end the rallies. The rallies were just extended.
Said too that the low tin added a metre to the court. I don't know if you've had.
It's about a foot.
About a foot.
Yes,
fair enough.
To be precise.
Yeah.
I mean, That was Irish metrics
Don't worry
there. But that length, so the people had to do a lot more work getting to the front of the court, and then that changed the game.
Yeah. And then the hold as well, players like Shabini and Raneem bringing in the hold, which Nicole David had never faced before, and being able to disrupt those patterns of play and the movement was huge.
There was certainly an increase in shots as well for that lower tin, a more variety of shots. Now, I know we can't compare eras necessarily, but you both, having played the modern game, as it were, we're not that old, but having played the modern game and seeing what's being produced now, and you're looking at the times of the matches and how long they're going on for on that lower tin, on that bigger space, you've got to say that it's the highest level ever of the women's game. So therefore, if you're achieving World Championship titles in this era, you've got to be the greatest.
Absolutely. I mean, the level always goes up over time, but it's gone up. The trajectory of the increase in level in the women's game has been huge over the past 10 years. And the level they're playing at is something I could never have anticipated.
And yourself, Ashley?
I definitely could have been in the mix. No. I don't know about you. No, I think it's different eras, different times, and I think testament to the length of time. I think that's a really good point. That length of time. When we changed the scoring and the tin and all that initially, there was uproar because the women's match times were going to be so short, and they were going to be a touch boring and very, very quick for the spectators, and that has not happened at all. Levels, as you said, levels gone up and up and up.
Well, the players that are certainly looking to stop Nour El Shabini from getting that 8th title. Narongo Gohar, the defending champion of the World Championships, and obviously Hania El Hamami, who's had a great start to the year, winning in TOC. She's warming up now. We can just see her in the background getting ready for her campaign here, but she's never won a World Championship, and certainly one that could be an issue. She's in the half of Gohar, which is probably a bit thankful for Shabini.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that it's almost a pity. I kind of wish that Hamami was in Shabini's half, because I feel like Gohar's the standout favourite, to be honest. Even after everything we've said about Nour El Shabini, I watched her in Elguna. I wasn't convinced with her form. It's only been sort of 3-4 weeks since then. She didn't look like she was moving particularly well. There wasn't much sharpness to her hitting because she was getting on the ball slightly late. So I would say Gohar's a standout favourite, and it would be great to have seen Hamami try to take on Shabini in the semi.
But Olivia Weaver, I mean, obviously...
Well, she's there too, yeah, of
She
course.
really has improved the game, and is certainly one that's dangerous.
Yeah, and I think America's good for her too. She loves playing in America. She loves playing, and Rod comes to see her always in America. I think that partnership is very...
He's Australian.
He is Australian, but he lives here.
Yeah.
And but the partnership throughout the tournament, I feel the strategy, tactics, they're all like spot on, and she just goes and does her job. But kind of jumping back to Hania El Hamami, I think the confidence, we talk about her as a confident player, and the confidence within her game, you can see it, has gone exponentially higher throughout the season, and that, if anything, I feel like that would give her the edge, if there is to be an edge.
That's something we haven't really talked about, the confidence that you need to be able to win a world title. I mean, a lot of these players have won titles before. They know what it feels like to be in a final, but to win a world title takes something different. And we haven't really mentioned Orfi, but I feel that Orfi can beat anyone on her day, but I can't see her winning a world title yet. And I think
why does it take something? Because obviously the regularity of the events now, and these big events, but what is it about it?
Because it is such a big title, and I think there's a confidence and a maturity and a level of experience that you need to do that, and that's why we've seen players generally win that title when they've been slightly older. Of course, there are exceptions to that. Nour Shabini's one of them, but if I was going to pick sort of an outsider to win, I would pick one of the slightly older, more experienced players.
You would?
Yeah.
Right, Vanessa, now... Oh, yeah, you're going to ask me now. Yep,
sorry, so me and Johnny have said who our dark horse are, but we haven't had it from either of you. I'm going to let ladies first.
Thank you. We'll take to the floor.
Who did you go for, Ashes?
I went for Orfi, and I shall tell you why. And Cole went for Orfi.
I just told you why not.
Yeah, exactly. I'm looking at her in August. She was number 11 in the world. And we're looking at her now, she's number 5 in the world. She has this quote, and she's like, I approach every match as a tournament. Like, talk about vicious, ferocious, like dogged determination. If anyone can do it outside that big 3, I'd say big 4, I think it would be her, because we talk about the no fear, so she has no fear, and she has respect, but she's not starstruck by any of the top 3 players. The only one she's lost to is Gohar, and unfortunately she's in Gohar's half. So she's gonna. I think she's gonna have a struggle a little bit, but she's my pick.
Who did you go for on the men's side?
Went for Cole. I went for Cole. Yeah, just
That's original.
solid.
I can't wait to hear your
solid as ever. Conservative, perhaps a little. I think his form. I think his draw is pretty nice. He's got Victor Cranny, kind of a bit of a smooth draw to
Has lost to him before though.
He has lost to. Thank you for reminding me, Joey. But I think it's a smooth draw for
to play Al-Shabagi or Zakaria.
Yeah. Look, it's
tough.
smooth. Okay, I'm just. You asked me for a pick.
Is it crunchy peanut butter or smooth peanut butter?
And then if he gets to the thing, it's Asal, and Asal has that little issue with the referees. They might be a bit hard on him. That might favour Cole.
Okay, Joey.
Well, I mean, go on.
Go on. Who? You've been absolutely slating everyone's picks, so tell us who you went for.
I mean, I picked Orphy, but I'm not. I don't need to repeat myself because Ashling's talked about it. Orphy's a great one for me, for the women. And then I've gone a little bit further afield with Kareem Abdul-Gawad because
nice.
I was led to believe with the rulings of the dark horse picking that it wasn't necessarily somebody that was 4 in the the world.
Why are you looking at me?
Somebody that was a bit outside the mix. So yourself and Johnny Williams, have gone very safe. You picked Orphy with me, which I understand, which I get. But Gawad, you never know with Gawad. You don't know what you're going to get. It's literally like a box of chocolates.
No, that's true. That's true.
And he loves Chicago. It's the home of the deep pan pizza.
Yeah, I mean.
And he nearly lost yesterday, which is even better. But these were preempted. But wait for it. The World Championship that he won back in 2016, he nearly lost to Nathan Lake in 5. He won that and then went on to win the event.
And he was unseeded.
Please, if you are listening out there, Kareem Abdul-Gawad, please do it because we've got a lot on this.
Don't eat too much pizza.
Yeah. Who do you actually think is going to win?
A Gohar. And
you just completely contradicted yourself.
No, I haven't. The rules stipulated that it was someone who hasn't won a platinum. How many platinums has Gohar won this season? A few.
Yes.
So I couldn't count her in my calculations.
Right. And the men as well, because they're playing.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Asal for the men. I'm making no sense.
Well, you are. I mean, that's like pretty. You've got the world #1 in the women and the world
but I'm
#1
asking
in the
Paul
men
Cole
winning.
to take out my top pick.
And James Wallstrop can't win it, by the way. He's not playing. So who
well,
you
he
got?
kind of can a little bit. I'm going to go with the same. Actually, I think Gohar and Mustafa Asal. I mean, again, I can't wait to hear your picks.
I'm going to go for Noron Gohar and. I think the raging one, but I'm going to go Ali Farag.
Just for fun.
I'm going to go, now that Joel Makin's out of the mix, I'm going to go Ali Farag.
This went well.
Yeah, no, it's good. I mean, I just don't want to speak to either of you again for the rest of the week now. Quite irritable for some reason. But no, I mean, it's great that we're debating back and forth. And it's in previous World Championships, you've got to admit, there has been, it's like, well, they're going to win. They're going to win. Whereas this is a lot more kind of, there are serious contenders there, and you just don't know how it's going to run.
Yeah.
I am gutted about Joel Makin. I have to repeat that because I think that he's playing the best squash. I really do feel he could have gone quite far.
Yeah, this was, in terms of his form, this was his year to really do something at World Championships. Hopefully he can hold on to that for a couple more years.
Ashling,
really hard. I mean, playing for his country, the European team champs, playing for Wales, and he's such a Welsh warrior.
I mean,
you've got to,
it was a dead rubber as well.
Yeah. Oh, God, that's even worse.
Yeah.
Poor thing.
Yeah,
but hopefully speedy recovery and all that kind of stuff. We need him back on the tour, don't we?
We certainly do. It's a busy end with the British Open after this one, and then, of course, the World Tour Finals. But we're right here, right now for Chicago. And, I mean, it's certainly a new venue and lots of light, which is great for us working in these conditions. And I'd like to thank you both. And I will try and bring myself to talk to you a bit later on once I've gathered myself. Play will be happening in a few minutes here in Chicago, so don't go too far for the beginning of the glass court for this World Championships. Greatest female player that's ever taken to the stage.
This is some unbelievable quality from Farag.
Such strength and athleticism from El Hammami. Oh my word, this is just outrageous! It's outrageous! Welcome back to another World Championship for the 2024-25 season this year. We're live from Chicago. This event presented by the Walter family once again. A new venue here at the Lakeshore Complex, and joining me, Vanessa, in the studio. Michael Absalom behind us, just building a bit of atmosphere. It's a bit light on the ground, but we've got what should be a very exciting day of squash on the glass, and we've had some absolute rippers going on at the University Club in the last 2 days, previous rounds. Yeah, lots and lots of matches already been played. Obviously, this is round 2 that we're into now. Still 32 matches to be played over the different venues. There've been some pretty exciting little upsets as well. Already a few young players coming through, perhaps unexpectedly. Hopefully we'll see a few more upsets during the week. Well, as we look at the order of play for today, we've got 9 matches coming up for you. At 4 p.m, you must tune in. We've got the Mustafa Asal debate about what's been happening kind of on and off the court, really, and the positives and the negatives. That will all be happening with Johnny Williams and James Walstrop actually coming into the studio, which would be wonderful to hear from those. But as we look at the schedule, Hania El Hammami will kick off her campaign. As the list goes on, the mix of countries, it's the all South American affair, with Rodriguez and Elias Shabini making her stand. Amanda Sobey with US interest, and Olivia Weaver. And that's a tough one for Weaver. Rachel Arnold on very, very good form, getting to the final of Squash on Fire recently. And I have to say, the one at the end is certainly going to be something that I'm going to be fascinated by. But what about your picks for today's play?
Yeah, I mean, the same. It's those last 2 I think I'm most looking forward to. Rachel Arnold perhaps could cause some problems for Olivia Weaver. She's very attacking, quite deceptive, Rachel Arnold. A little bit up and down, but if she plays well, she's certainly good enough to challenge Weaver. And then I think it's all about that last match, isn't it? It's the young pretender, the very sort of almost overconfident Zakaria taking on the beast. And I feel like the youngster may have met his match today.
So you think Mohamed's going to win that last one?
I think he's going to be so up for this. I think it's going to be fiery.
So Mohamed's going to win?
I think he's going to win, yeah.
Even against Mohamed?
Mohamed's going to win against Mohamed. The
Mohamed.
elder Mohamed is going to win.
Hania El Hammami's first up. She's not yet won a world championship. She's in great form warming up behind the scenes. Certainly one of the contenders to take this title. Can she win the tournament here, Vanessa, in Chicago for this season?
She can. I mean, she's found form again. She's found her confidence. We saw that in a big win, obviously, in New York. It's going to take a huge performance if she gets through to the semis to take out Noran Gohar, but she is more than capable.
She's certainly more than capable. She showed that at the Tournament of Champions earlier this year, taking out the big 2 in front of her. Now we've got the big one who's on the microphone, will be emceeing for this event. It's over to Michael Absalom.